just lazy, but there's something deeper happening inside you. Listen.
There is something happening inside your mind that most people in the United States never talk about. And if you are watching this right now, there is a high chance you have felt it too. It starts very quietly. You wake up in the morning. Everything looks normal. Your room, your phone, your life. But something feels different inside you. Not sadness, not depression in the way people describe it, but a strange emotional distance from everything. Like you are present, but not fully inside your own life. And the scariest part is, you cannot explain it to anyone properly. Because when someone asks you what's wrong, you pause for a second, and then you say the easiest possible answer. I don't know, I just feel lazy. But what if I told you that this sentence is completely wrong? What if you are not lazy at all? What if your brain is going through something deeper, something psychological, something that modern science actually understands very clearly? You are not lazy, you are not unmotivated, and you are not broken. But your emotional system is slowly becoming disconnected from normal life. And that disconnection is exactly what you are feeling as emptiness. Let that sink in for a moment. Because this is not about discipline. This is not about motivation. This is not even about personality. This is about how your brain processes emotions in a modern overstimulated world. In psychology, there is a state called emotional numbness. And most people don't even realize when they enter it. Because it does not feel dramatic. It does not feel painful in the beginning. It feels like nothing. You still function. You still talk. You still scroll. You still laugh sometimes. But internally, something important is missing. The emotional connection to life itself. And once that starts fading, everything else slowly starts losing meaning too. Even things that used to matter deeply to you start feeling light, distant, almost unreal. And this is where most people make a mistake. They assume they are becoming lazy. They assume they lost discipline. But laziness is not a mental shutdown. Laziness is a choice. What you are experiencing is not a choice. It is emotional disconnection. Your brain is still working, but your emotional response system is not fully engaged anymore. This feeling you are experiencing, it is not random, and it is not sudden. It is being built slowly by your environment. Every single day, without you noticing it, your brain today is living in a constant state of stimulation. You wake up and the first thing you do is reach your phone. Notifications, messages, short videos, news, social media, and your brain immediately gets flooded with information before you even fully wake up mentally. And this is where the problem begins. Because your brain is not designed for this speed. It is designed for rhythm, rest, processing, emotional absorption. But modern life removes that completely. There is no silence anymore. There is no boredom anymore. There is no emotional pause. Everything is fast. Everything is instant. Everything is moving. And your mind is constantly chasing the next input. Now here's what happens inside your brain because of this. Your emotional sensitivity starts reducing. Not suddenly, but gradually. Like the volume of life is slowly being turned down. Things that used to feel exciting start feeling normal. Things that used to feel normal start feeling boring. And things that used to feel boring start feeling unbearable. Because your brain is overstimulated but emotionally undernourished. And this creates a strange internal imbalance. You are consuming more than ever before, but feeling less than ever before. So even when good things happen in your life, your emotional response is weak, short-lived, flat, almost like your brain is observing instead of experiencing. And this is where people get confused. They think something is wrong with their personality. But it is not personality. It is neuroadaptation. Your brain is adjusting to constant stimulation by lowering emotional depth. And slowly, without realizing it, your life starts feeling less real. Not because it changed, but because your emotional connection to it changed. Now here is where things start becoming very confusing for most people. Because on the outside, nothing is actually wrong. Your life is still moving. You still have responsibilities. You still have goals. You still know what you need to do. But internally, everything starts feeling heavier than it should. Simple tasks feel difficult. Replying to messages feels delayed. Starting work feels impossible for no clear reason. Even getting out of bed feels like a mental effort. And the first thought that comes is always the same. I'm just being lazy. But that explanation never fully feels right. Because deep inside, you know it is not that simple. So what is actually happening? This is where psychology becomes very important. Human motivation is not powered by logic. It is powered by emotional reward. You don't do things because you should. You do things because they feel meaningful in some way. Even small meaning is enough. Even small excitement is enough. Even small emotional reward is enough. But when emotional numbness starts increasing, that reward system becomes weaker. Not gone, just muted. So now when you try to do something, your brain does not give you the same internal push it used to give before. There is no emotional pull, no internal reward signal, just silence. And when there is no emotional reward, everything starts requiring conscious effort. And conscious effort feels heavy. Not physically, but mentally. That is why even simple things start feeling like a burden. Not because you are incapable, but because your emotional system is not supporting your actions anymore. And this is where a dangerous misunderstanding begins. You start blaming yourself. You start thinking you lost discipline. You start thinking you are becoming lazy. But in reality, your brain is just not emotionally engaging with life properly anymore. And when emotional engagement drops, motivation naturally collapses. Because motivation is not something you force. It is something you feel. Now this is the part where most people start getting worried about themselves. Because something strange begins happening. Things you used to enjoy don't feel the same anymore. Music feels normal. Videos feel repetitive. Games feel boring after a few minutes. Even talking to people feels slightly disconnected. And you keep asking yourself one question. Why am I losing interest in everything? But the answer is not what you think. It is not that the world became less interesting. It is that your brain stopped responding to interest the same way. In psychology, enjoyment is not just external. It is internal chemistry. Your brain releases a reward response when something feels meaningful, exciting, or engaging. That response is what makes you feel alive in the moment. But when your emotional system is overstimulated for a long time, that reward response starts becoming less sensitive. Not completely gone, just weakened. So now even when something good happens, your brain does not fully register it. It acknowledges it, but it does not feel it deeply. And this is where the disconnect becomes more noticeable. Because logically, you know something is enjoyable. But emotionally, you don't feel it strongly enough to stay engaged. So what do? You move to the next thing faster. And then the next. And then the next. Always searching for something that will finally hit differently. But nothing does. Because the problem is not what you are consuming. The problem is your emotional sensitivity has reduced. And this creates a cycle. Less feeling, right pointing arrow, more searching, right pointing arrow, more stimulation, right pointing arrow, even less feeling. And slowly, everything starts feeling flat. Even things that used to excite you deeply. This is why many people start saying things like, I don't enjoy anything anymore. I get bored too fast. Nothing feels fun like before. But what they are really experiencing is emotional desensitization. A slow reduction in how strongly their brain responds to life. Now something even deeper starts happening. It doesn't just affect what you feel. It starts affecting who you feel like you are. At some point, you begin noticing a strange shift. You are still the same person logically. Same name, same life, same responsibilities. But internally, something feels unfamiliar. It's like you are watching your own life from a slight distance. Not completely disconnected, but not fully inside it either. And this creates a strange confusion in your mind. Because you remember how you used to feel before. You remember excitement. You remember emotional reactions. You remember being deeply involved in small moments. But now, that version of you feels distant. Almost like a memory of someone else. And this is where identity starts becoming unstable. Because your sense of self is not just thoughts. It is emotional feedback. What you feel repeatedly becomes your identity. But when emotional responses weaken, your connection to identity also weakens. So now you are in a strange state. You know who you are. But you don't feel like you are fully being that person anymore. And this is where people start overthinking heavily. They start questioning everything. What is wrong with me? Why do I feel different? Am I changing as a person? But the truth is, you are not changing as a person. Your emotional system is just not reflecting your identity clearly anymore. And that gap between who I am and how I feel is what creates emptiness. Because identity without emotional connection feels empty, even if everything else in life is stable. Now at this stage something very predictable starts happening. Your mind doesn't stay quiet. It becomes louder than ever. Because when emotions become unclear, thinking tries to take control. Not because it helps, but because it has nothing else to hold on to. So instead of feeling your life, you start analyzing your life. Instead of living moments, you start questioning moments. Instead of experiencing emotions, you start investigating them. And it usually starts with simple thoughts. Why am I like this? What is wrong with me? Am I becoming depressed? Why do I feel disconnected? But here is the problem. These thoughts don't bring clarity. They create loops. Mental loops that keep you stuck in the same emotional state. Because overthinking gives you the illusion of control. It feels like you are solving something. But in reality, you are just staying inside the problem longer. And the longer you stay inside it, the more your brain reinforces the same emotional pattern. Confusion leads to thinking. Thinking leads to confusion. And the cycle continues. Now here is the deeper psychological layer. Your brain is actually trying to escape discomfort. But instead of escaping externally, it turns inward and starts scanning itself constantly. This internal scanning creates mental exhaustion. Not because you are thinking too much, but because there is no emotional resolution. So even after hours of thinking, you still feel the same. Maybe even worse. Because nothing actually gets resolved emotionally. And this is where many people get trapped. They believe thinking harder will fix the feeling. But emotional numbness is not solved by thinking. It is understood through presence. Now something even more uncomfortable starts happening at this stage. You are not alone physically, but you start feeling alone internally. You can be around friends, family, coworkers, even people you genuinely care about. But something feels missing in those moments. You are there, but not fully there. You are listening, but not fully connected. You are reacting, but not fully feeling it. And this creates a strange internal distance. Not from people, but from connection itself. And this is where most people get confused. They think they are becoming introverted or socially disconnected, but the truth is more psychological than social. Human connection is not just about presence. It is about emotional resonance. That feeling where someone's words actually land inside you. Where emotions are shared internally, not just exchanged externally. But when emotional numbness increases, that resonance becomes weak, so conversations still happen, but they don't fully reach you anymore. And because of that, even meaningful interactions start feeling slightly flat. Not fake, not bad, just emotionally distant. So you start withdrawing a little. Not intentionally, just naturally. Less sharing, less emotional involvement, less depth in conversations. And the more you withdraw, the less emotional stimulation you receive. And the less stimulation you receive, the more numb you feel. So now you are stuck in a loop. Disconnected internally, right pointing arrow, disconnected socially, right pointing arrow, even more internal disconnection. And this is where the feeling of emptiness becomes strongest. Because now it is not just inside you. It starts reflecting in your relationships too. Now this is the point where things start becoming even more confusing. Because logically, your life might still be improving. You might still be achieving things. You might still be progressing in work, studies, or personal goals. But emotionally, it doesn't feel like anything. You achieve something you wanted. You complete a task. You reach a goal. And for a very short moment, you expect to feel something. Pride, happiness, satisfaction, something meaningful. But instead, there is just silence. A very flat emotional response. Almost like your brain acknowledged it, but didn't feel it. And this is where people get confused again. They start thinking, why am I not happy even when I'm doing well? Why does nothing feel enough anymore? But the answer is not about success. It is about emotional reward response. Normally, when you achieve something meaningful, your brain releases a reward signal. That signal is what creates the feeling of satisfaction. That's what makes progress feel real. But when emotional numbness develops over time, that reward signal becomes weaker. Not gone, just reduced in intensity. So now even big moments feel small internally, and small moments feel almost invisible. And because of that, your brain starts chasing more goals, more achievements, more stimulation, because it assumes intensity is missing. But the real issue is not intensity. It is emotional connection. So no matter what you achieve, the feeling doesn't last, or sometimes doesn't even arrive properly. And that creates a very dangerous loop. Achieve, right pointing arrow, feel nothing, right pointing arrow, chase more, right pointing arrow, still feel nothing. And slowly, even success starts feeling like routine. Not special, not fulfilling, just another task completed. And this is where emptiness becomes deeper. Because now even external wins cannot fill internal silence. Now this is the stage where most people finally start getting scared. Because from the outside, nothing looks wrong anymore. Your life is stable. You are functioning. You are doing what you are supposed to do. There is no obvious problem. No clear failure. No visible crisis. But inside, there is still a feeling you cannot explain. A constant background emptiness. Like something is missing, but you cannot identify what. And this is where the confusion becomes strongest. Because your brain keeps searching for a reason. It looks at your life and says, everything is fine, so why do I feel like this? And that question creates even more mental pressure. Because now you are not only feeling empty, You are trying to justify why you feel empty. But here is the psychological truth. Emotional numbness does not always need an external reason. It is often a gradual internal shift, not caused by one event, but by repeated emotional overload, stress, and disconnection over time. Your brain slowly adapts by reducing emotional intensity, not to harm you, but to protect you from constant overload. And once that adaptation becomes your new normal, life still looks the same externally, but feels different internally. This is why people say, "I have everything, but I still feel empty." Because, having everything does not guarantee emotional connection. Your brain can function perfectly, while your emotional system is running in low sensitivity mode. And that mismatch is what creates emptiness. So now you are not reacting to something wrong in your life. You are reacting to a lack of emotional signal inside your life. And the scariest part is, the more you try to logically understand it, the more it feels confusing. Because this is not a logic problem. It is a feeling system problem. Now let's bring everything together in a simple but very real way. What you have been feeling all this time is not random. And it is not a personality flaw. It is a gradual emotional disconnection. A slow reduction in how strongly your brain responds to life. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but silently, over time. First, your brain got overloaded. Too much information, too much stimulation, too much pressure, too many thoughts. Then your emotional system started protecting itself. By reducing intensity, by lowering sensitivity, by making things feel less heavy. At first, it helped you cope. But over time, it became your new normal. And that is when you started feeling it. Not as sadness, not as pain, but as emptiness. A strange lack of emotional presence in your own life. And that is why nothing feels fully satisfying anymore. Not because your life is empty, but because your emotional connection to it has weakened. Now here is the most important part. This is not a permanent state. It is not who you are. It is a temporary adaptation of your brain. And the same brain that learned to disconnect can also slowly learn to reconnect again. Not through force, not through pressure, not through overthinking, but through gradual emotional re-engagement. Slowing down, reducing overload, allowing your mind to actually feel moments again, without constantly escaping them. Because your emotions are not gone. They are just muted. And muted systems can become active again. So if you are watching this and thinking, "Why do I feel like this?" The real answer is simple. You are not broken. You are not empty. You are just temporarily disconnected from your emotional system. And the moment you start noticing even small feelings again, even small moments of presence, that is already the beginning of reconnection. Because emptiness is not the end state. It is a signal. And signals can always be understood.